Hello, everybody. This is a video going over the procedures for work placements. When you finish your program, your very last semester is when you go out on your work placement and you enroll in your OJ course. There's 3 OJ courses: OJ 1900 for executive, OJ 1920 for medical, and OJ 1930 for records and information management. So what is your work exposure? This is where you have your opportunity to go out in a workplace and have a chance to work in a real office setting and use your skills that you have developed throughout your program. Your work exposure is very important. It allows you to not only test out your skills, but it gives you the confidence to continue working in an office environment. It is also your chance to network. Just think of it as a 6-week-long job interview. And this particular work exposure has to be related to your program. And I'll get into that a little bit later as we go through the presentation. Okay, so you're saying, all right, I got to do it. How do I qualify for it? In order to qualify for your work exposure placement, you have to have all of your courses completed. So this is the winter semester, so it should be completed by the end of April, actually May the 1st this year. And you also got to make sure that you have a GPA of 2.0 or higher. You can find out that in the My Grades section of your student self-service. There's checklists that will be provided by your instructor and also in the homeroom. Each program has its own checklist. I want you to take the checklist and compare it to your grades and your courses that you already have completed. So please make sure you download the one for your program and start filling it out. Include your grade and your semester too. For example, if you did AC 1100 and your grade was 85 and you did it in fall 2023, you could put down F23 for the semester and your grade of 85. If you find out that when you're filling out your program checklist, you're missing a course, reach out to me immediately. We can look at what course you're missing, see if it's going to be offered in the spring, and see what we can do to get you back on track and graduate as soon as possible. So when are your work placements? Your work placements are held during the spring semester. The spring semester or intersession runs from May the 12th to June 20th. That's the 6 weeks running. You are going to register for OJ 1900, so it's an actual course. So there is tuition costs associated. Your employer who takes you on as a work placement student is not required to pay. Okay, it is an unpaid work term. However, we have seen cases whereby employers did offer students money. It might have been a stipend, it might have been some sort of bonus, it might have been something that they offered to you. So if that is the situation and you are offered something, you are allowed to take it. And also keep in mind that this is your 6-week interview, and most employers now do hire the students right after their work placement is completed. Some of them actually get hired during their work placement. Okay, so here it is this semester, and we're getting you to work on securing your work placement long before you actually go out. And the reason why you need to do that this semester is because we want you to get it done and off your plate as soon as possible. So in this presentation, there's 4 steps that you will have to do. Step 1, in the next week or 2, you need to complete your program checklist I previously spoke of, and you need to get your resume ready. You worked in one of your communication courses, you designed your resume from a content point of view. And then in your fall OF course, whether it was OF 2100 or OF 2400, you honed your resume to match your program a little bit better. This is your most current resume, and that's the one that you need to get ready. So once you got your checklist done and your resume drafted, you reach out and book a virtual help center with the instructor assigned to you, and I will give you that list shortly. So this step is generally done anywhere between week 1 and week 4. The second you have your checklist done and your resume done, you can do this. So what's going to happen at this particular meeting? First thing is they're going to look at their resume and make sure that it's all ready. If there's any suggestions they make, you may be sent off to make edits and then come back with your final draft. Also, during this meeting, you're going to be looking at possible locations that you know of in your community that you would like to do your work placement. Now, the reason why you as a student has to find your work placement, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, it allows you to get the confidence of walking into a business and seeking employment. It also gives you the confidence of talking about yourself to people, and it gives you a chance to promote your skills in your own area. The other thing is, as an online student, you are placed anywhere. You could be living anywhere in the world. We've had students over in Singapore. We have students in Alberta. So it's impossible for us to know what workplaces are around where you live. So for this reason, this is why you as an online student look for possible locations next to you. For example, if you know that you don't have access to a car and there's no public transit, you're going to need to find a location close to you within walking distance, or maybe someone works there and it's a carpool situation. So that's what you do. You meet with your instructor, you go through your resume, and you give them a list of possible locations for your work placement. They're going to give you a form that you can fill out. Now, this form may or may not be filled out. It's just a way of you organizing all of your information on one sheet of paper. This is done after you meet with your instructor, and it generally takes 3 to 5 weeks, depending on how active you are in approaching different employers. So what you're going to do is, when you looked at your possible locations, you're going to rank them from your first choice down to your last. Your first choice, you're going to reach out. You're going to give them a call, or you're going to walk into that particular business. Do not send an email. Make your first impression a lasting one. Okay? I recommend that you phone the HR department or whoever is working in the main office and ask to set up an appointment with the supervisor in that particular workplace. That way, then you get a chance to go in with your nice new resume. You can sit down and talk to them and explain to them that you need 6 weeks for your work exposure placement in order to graduate with your 2-year office management diploma. Okay, so if you reach out to your first choice and they say yes, perfect, you're done. Don't be discouraged if they do say no. Move on to your second choice and do the same thing. Keep going until you find a placement. If you're really stuck after trying at least 3 different places, go back to your instructor and maybe you can have a brainstorming session. Another place to find out what businesses are in your area is always your town website. For example, the town of Grand Falls, Windsor, the town of Gander. All of those places have a business directory on their website. So you already have something secured and it's all good to go. So you reach out to your instructor now and you give them all of the information that they need about the work placement. You let them know where you're going, who your supervisor is going to be. You make sure you got an email, make sure you got a full complete address for them and a valid phone number. So then what's going to happen then, your instructor is going to reach out to this particular employer, give them the ins and outs of hosting a student for their work placement. Once they have totally agreed, the contract is signed and the paperwork has been processed. Okay? Be prepared because some businesses may request an interview even after you have sat down and talked to them. However, most of the time when you do make a personal appearance, the interview has already taken place, just that you didn't know it. So once you have your work placement secured, you're done for now. You can take it off your plate and concentrate on the rest of your courses. So your work exposure placement form, we're hoping to have everyone situated by the week of or by the end of week 6, which falls on February 14th, 2025. The list of instructors are there for each of the OJ courses, and you should be in a corresponding WPT course under the same name. So Heather Chafe is looking after the executive asynchronous students. Velma is looking after the synchronous executive students. Sandra Nolan is looking after both the asynchronous and synchronous medical office management groups, and Maureen Baker is helping with the records and information management students. So those are your instructors you have to reach out to. Make sure you reach out to your instructor that has been assigned. When you're going to the virtual help center, make sure you book with your instructor. That way then they know how far you are in the process, whether or not you've got your resume done, whether or not you got your list of places, whether or not you have already approached a particular employer. All right, so the thing about it is we got to draw your attention to health authorities. This is the hospitals, maybe as a public agency, for example, blood collections. If it's a government-ran association, the health authorities handle things a little bit differently. So if you want to be placed in a hospital, you have to reach out to Sandra and let her know that, Sandra, I'm in Gander, so I would like to work at the Gander Hospital. Or you might say, Sandra, I'm over in Pasadena. I would like to work at the Corner Brook Hospital. So then from that point, Sandra will start the conversation for you. The health board generally has a designated person in the area that handles work placements for all of the colleges across the province. So if you prefer to be located in the health board, you don't have to do that contacting the employer and making the first impression. Okay? You just get your resume ready and you reach out to Sandra. So the other thing you got to take note of is the health services has certain rules about getting clearance through their HR department to be able to work in their facilities. So the first thing you have to do is do a code of conduct. You would contact either the RCMP or the RNC, whatever is your law enforcement agent in your area, and you will fill out an application for a code of conduct and also make sure that you request the vulnerable sector check as well. That way then you have that included and done just in case you're placed in a sector that's going to need that. So the thing is, because you're requiring this for education, we provide you with a letter, and that letter is going to let them know that you're doing this because you are required to do it as part of your diploma, and they will waive your fees. Okay, and your instructor will have a copy of that letter for you. The other thing we got to draw your attention to is NL Health Services require proof of vaccinations. You are going to be working in a medical situation or a medical environment where people are vulnerable. Their health is probably not as strong as it needs to be. So based on that, there's a list of vaccines that are going to be required for you to have completed before you're allowed to participate in a work placement at the health authorities. So this is where you need to contact the public health nurse in your area and ask them about the vaccines, ask them if they can look up on your system to see what vaccine you had. A lot of these have been given to you as you were growing up. Some may need a booster, some may be fine. But the thing about it, we need you to start that conversation now. Okay, do not delay. The reason why is because when you get accepted in the health authorities, you will be given a big package of papers that you have to fill out and applications. Part of it is getting these vaccinations signed off on. Also, some of these vaccinations may come in 1 or 2 or 3-part series. So you may have to do one, wait a couple of weeks and do the second one, wait a couple of weeks and then do the third one. And also, don't delay, because last year, for example, we had a measles outbreak. And when that happened, public health was blocked solid and students were finding it hard to get in to have that appointment to get their vaccines updated. So don't delay, start that conversation now. Your CNA email is more important than ever now. This is the email that you're going to put on your application. This is the email that's on your resume. This is the email that your supervisor from your work placement will be using. It's the email that your instructor will be using to CC you on any important emails about your work placement, and they would be contacting you if something is necessary. For example, let's say the employer wants something else from you. They may request it from your instructor, and they will probably send you an email letting you know. It could be as simple as a phone interview, could be as simple as they misplaced your resume, they want a new copy, might be as simple as we're holding a staff meeting about a policy. We are wondering if so-and-so can come in. So main purpose here is to stay on task and make sure you're constantly checking your webmail. Okay, lots of times people ask, well, I'm already working in the field. How can I get credit for this? So if you already have an office job and you're working in your industry, you can request a prior learning assessment and recognition. As long as your job is in your area, for example, if you're doing the medical, you're working in a medical environment and you have to be currently working. You can't use a past job. Okay, you have to be currently in that job right now. And the PLAR will be accepted anytime in this semester. So you can start working on your PLAR. The main things you got to remember is you got to have your up-to-date resume. So even if you're planning to PLAR, still book an appointment with your instructor. Go over your resume and make sure that it's up to date and ready to go. We need a detailed job description document. So what this is you can start a Word document and start telling us everything you do in your job. I check the mail, I run the mail postage, I file away the daily files, I'm currently planning a trip for my boss. Do the details of everything that you are doing, okay? Now, I ask you to start this document and keep it open a couple of days. So as you're working, you can put in the stuff you're doing. Because guaranteed, you're going to remember a couple of days down the road, oh, that's right, I didn't add that to that list. So then that's your opportunity to reopen that document and add to your list. In your PLAR application, the first 2 pages are filled out by you, but the last 2 pages are filled out by your supervisor. There's specific questions and sections that they have to fill in, and then they also have to sign and date this document. If you do not submit all of those documents along with your application, you may have your application sent back to you. And where we accept these first come, first serve, if we open up your application and realize that there's stuff missing, it's going to be sent back to you and you're in the back of the queue until we receive it. Okay? You also may be asked to provide something else once we're actually through the process. Okay, so that's another reason why you got to keep checking your webmail. You can send me an email. I do have another slide, but my email is there, tina.dean@cna.nl.ca. So there's links there. They will be posted in your WTP shells along with the homeroom. So you can click on those and read about it. Now, the biggest thing is make sure that you pay attention and check off the supporting documents on page 2 of the application, and make sure that pages 3 and 4 are filled out by your supervisor. Once everything is completed, the application package goes to a special email, dlservice@cna.nl.ca. However, if you want me to take a look at it before you actually formally submit it, feel free to send it to me in an email and I will look at it and say, okay, this looks good, or maybe you need to add more to blank, okay? So feel free to send it to me if you need me to look it over. That way then you know that once it's submitted, it's going to be the complete application package. So you're all ready to go and you need to do one very last step. It's generally mid to late March. Your instructor is going to ask you to fill out an academic audit request. The synchronous students will do it differently than the asynchronous because it's 2 different admissions officers. Okay, so what the academic audit request is, basically you're letting them know that you want to graduate. So they're going to take the time to go through your student record, make sure you have all of your courses passed, make sure that your GPA is 2.0 or higher. Once that has all been checked off and you realize, okay, this person is ready to go, you're going to get an email saying pending successful completion of your winter courses, blank is eligible to graduate upon completion of their work placement. And once you get that, you know that everything is in order as long as you pass your winter courses and as long as you get half decent grades so that your GPA don't go down below 2.0. Okay, if for some reason you end up failing a course, reach out to me. Okay, because what's going to happen, you're going to have to try to make up that course before you can go out on your work placement. All right, so this is the point where I normally would stop and ask for any questions. There is a formal work exposure manual released by the School of Business and IT. They are working on the 2025 edition. Once it has been released, it will be shared in both the homeroom and in your WTP course. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope I answered all of your questions. If you do have any more questions, feel free to send me an email. That's tina.dean@cna.nl.ca. I congratulate you. You are now in your final semester, and from here on out, you're going to be working towards your career. Congratulations, you made it, and I can't wait to see you all in grad. Take care and have a wonderful day.